I've never seen such. I've never. This is like. This is incredible.
Are the airstrikes in Yemen working?
Well, when you say working, are they stopping the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes.
Dr. François, I mean, there are many who are saying that, frankly, the Biden administration should have acted sooner and faster, that hundreds of billions of dollars has been put at risk because the Houthis have held this area in the Red Sea at ransom.
Sorry, so just let me get this straight, Yalda. So we are bombing the poorest, one of the poorest countries in the world that has been under a humanitarian blockade. There has been famine. These people have been decimated. And we are bombing them because a couple of guys in dinghies in support for the Palestinians who are having a genocide committed against them. They're objecting to that, and we're bombing them. Come on now. I mean, this is just an insane world for us to even think. I'm so sorry your Amazon packages are delayed. I really am. Like, I wish mine came on time. But, you know, genocide, guys, genocide. There are 2 mothers a day dying in Gaza right now. It's 109 days into a conflict in which a humanitarian crisis has been declared to the world day in, day out.
By the way, Dr. François, there are many who are Yemen watchers who monitor and follow the Houthis who say this is doing wonders for their branding, actually, that it isn't just the Palestinian cause that they're focused on.
So call a ceasefire now and end the positive branding. If you want to stop the Houthis doing what they're doing, then call a ceasefire right now.
Do you genuinely believe that the Houthis would stop doing what they're doing?
They have literally said that that's why they're doing what they're doing. They have not previously blocked those routes for any other reason except this one. So yes, I do. And I also think the West needs to start to understand that you cannot just go around playing cowboys in the world. There are consequences to your actions. You cannot just go around bombing people's countries, ignoring international...
This is like, this is incredible.
International law and expect no repercussions. For every cause, there is a consequence. And just because you don't like a couple of guys trying to resist...
I mean, these are now prescribed terrorists.
Sure, according to Western governments.
Well,
it's awesome. See, look, notice how she immediately hit the, well, you're defending terrorists, by the way. They weren't until last week. Biden decided. Who cares? Bullshit. Bullshit. Get out of here. The next phase of this is to say, well, they're slavers. They've done this. They've done that. It is ridiculous to call the Ansar Allah administration terrorists while simultaneously saying that the Saudis and their actions upon Yemen, not terror, but good, is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Hasan, you should become religious. Freddy Fazballs, you want to spend an eternity in hell with the IDF? Your name is Freddy Fazballs, okay? You're going there too.
Also, according to the Yemeni people,
because they've which is a Saudi-backed government, which is essentially our.
But the Yemenis who live, under Houthi rule talk about the fact that this group continues to terrorize them as well.
Yeah.
No, it's not true. You are always going to have people who are obviously objecting to their own individual governments. That part is, of course, true. But the notion that, like, God, the slavery thing is so funny, especially because, like, dude, the people bombing Yemen do infinitely more slavery. Like, it's wild to look at, like, the UAE and Saudi Arabia and what they're saying about Yemen as it pertains to slavery, and just like, it's like if the Confederates were claiming that there was slavery happening in the North as well. Is there truth to that? There was wage slavery, some forms of course, institutionalized racism as well. But, like, it would be like claiming that the Confederates were actually fighting to abolish slavery in the North. That's what it feels like. Yemen women's rights non-existent. Fair. Like, these are obviously it's not great. The point is, half the reason why it's not great is because these countries have not even been able to, like, develop on their own without foreign interference. But more importantly than that, these bombing campaigns are not done to protect the slaves or free them or anything like that. It's just, like, such a stupid argument to make. The notion that, like, our bombing campaign in Yemen is going to give women's rights to the Yemeni population is so stupid. Two wrongs don't make a right. Son, I'm Yemeni. I would like to clear things up for you. Go ahead, clear it up in the chat. Yemeni chatter. I mean, I do. Here hear a lot from Yemeni academics and journalists and whatnot in the past week or so since my interview. But the perfect position here, is pretty easy to understand. It's okay. Let's try ending the genocide in Gaza. And if the Houthis still keep going, then we'll deal with it there. Bullshit. The Houthis weren't genocided. Oh, okay, got it. What? As a Yemeni, are you going to tell me, pan-Arabist, that it was actually the Houthis themselves that were responsible for the genocide and not the coalition forces? Is that what you're going to say? Because, like, even the Yemenis were genocided. Fair. This is true. Okay, that is correct. Yes. Both are bad. Okay, got it. Do you think Western nations that have destroyed these Middle Eastern nations should give humanitarian aid to rebuild the countries, or should we completely pull out of the region? No, I think that we should be doing a Marshall Plan without any sort of additional asks, like reparations to every country that we have bombed and destabilized. His name is Pan-Arabist, so I want to hear what he has to say. But I think you whitewash the Houthi crimes. No, I don't. I don't whitewash the Houthi crimes at all, because I look at the greater crime, and that is genocide. If genocide is the greater crime, then that's it. Genocide is the greater crime. This is a perfectly normal position to have. And the genocide upon the Yemeni population is significant, is a direct consequence of the American proxies in the area and their interests in what happens in Yemen, or what should happen in Yemen. See, I like what they're doing now and I support their actions. Okay, so you and I are in 100% agreement then. Great. Not even a debate. It's like claiming you're pro-Saddam for saying the American invasion of Iraq was bad. Exactly. It's exactly like that. It is identical to that, which is funny because, like, that is what they were saying back then, and that's kind of what a lot of people are saying now. The Houthi crimes of what? Being a militarized force? No, dude. They seized power in, I would say, a relatively opportunistic fashion due to the real interest from the Yemeni population to overthrow the leadership at the time. And in that process, given that this was already an incredibly poor country and the regional actors and their bombing campaign that ensued, the things that they did in that process, were obviously, especially by Western standards, horrifying. As far as like child soldiers, for example, which, by the way, once again, the Saudi-aligned forces also utilized. You're making things up. What am I making up right now? What have I said that's wrong? I hope you have a take on this. Bro, you can explain to me. You had that young boy Houthi pirate guy on the show after he went viral. He mentioned, if I remember right, that he didn't support pirates or Houthi as such, yet the days after they are bombing Houthi pirate places. Where's the logic if they knew that most, if not all, these pirates wasn't a part of the Houthi, then bomb them? What? I don't even know what you're saying. The interview has nothing to do with the bombing. But if anything, I think people are mad because they want to make the bombing feel good and it makes them feel bad. But it's also important to mention that they're bad because it serves no purpose. It serves no purpose. I talk about like the banner that they have where they say curse the Jews is anti-Semitic. But overall, there's no reason to mention this. It's playing the same role over and over again. It's like constantly talking about condemning Hamas, condemn Hamas, condemn Hamas, condemn Hamas. Like, it's a way to just move the conversation back to a comfortable framing that like Western audiences want to understand and want to believe. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because in a situation between bad and worse, yeah, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the bad when there's so much worse happening to the bad, especially when I'm trying to help Americans come to terms and see the humanity in the Arab population, something that they have refused to do almost systematically. All right, let's continue.
I'm no fan of the Houthis, apart from when they're blockading in favor of a ceasefire, which should have been called a long time ago.
Bill, Brad, I'm just going to bring you into the conversation.
We started the whole conversation an hour ago about how you can't afford housing and your generation and so on and so forth. These people are creating a total trade blockade, which is causing inflation, which is causing all sorts of problems to everybody. I mean,
25,000 people are dead in Gaza right now. There are over 60,000 people injured with no access to food, water, aid. How dare we have a conversation about trade when there are children right now being treated without anesthetic? Well,
it's funny because like the condemnation conversation also is so stupid because like there's never any condemnation for America's actions. And if you're even criticizing America's actions as an American, you are met with like, condemn the Houthis, condemn the Houthis, condemn the Houthis, condemn Hamas, condemn Hamas. There is no condemnation for the IDF. And if we are looking at the lesser evil here, America's actions in that region and Israel's actions in that region are significantly worse. And I'm a harm reduction guy. It's a false binary. It just lets you reduce reality to good or bad when these revolutionary forces require nuanced understanding, the same nuance the West was so quick to give Israel. Yeah, that's it. And it's being done by people who desperately want to cling on to any reason to feel good and morally righteous about blowing up targets inside of Yemen. That's it. Exactly what you just said. If you point out the base 24/7, which you already point out, it's going to give them more reason to hate them anyways when they're already talking or listening to you in bad faith, probably. It's just, that's it. I'm doing harm reduction.
Things that require us to make some sacrifices, and this would be one of them.
They do have the global economy, global markets hostage.
Good for them.
Bill Brad.
Wait, what did she say? Global market hostage?
Being
What?
treated without anesthetic.
Well, the
there
fact
are
is
things that require us to make some sacrifices, and this would be one of them.
They do have the global economy, global markets hostage.
Good for them.
They're keeping the global markets hostage? Yeah. Okay, what's worse? Genocide in Gaza, or someone trying to hold the global markets hostage so that the genocide in Gaza stops, especially when we have the opportunity and the capacity to stop the genocide in Gaza. And it's much simpler. Like, guys, there are certain things that are completely outside of Biden's power. If there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure that he could do a better job, right? Or maybe even do things that are unconstitutional. And who gives a shit if, like, the Supreme Court doesn't agree with him or whatever, right? He could be a bit of a tyrant if he wanted to, right? In the direction that is positive, but won't do it because he's an institutionalist lib when it comes to, like, I don't know, having healthcare or something, giving every American healthcare. There are a lot of things that he has to go through Congress on. Israel is not one of them. Anyone that tells you that Biden can't single-handedly cause Israel to cease its hostilities is completely oblivious to the power that the president has, and is also completely oblivious to the history of the American presidency and what the executive office has done in the past with other cessation of hostilities in Israel. Biden himself in 2021 literally made a phone call to stop Israel. Okay? One phone call. He said, it's over. It's done. Enough. And they did. Ronald Reagan has done this in the past. And ironically, Biden has actually sidestepped Congress time and time again when it comes to helping Israel. And here's the actual truth. I can't believe I'm going to use this guy's tweets again, but I think it's very informative on how liberals, one, don't fully understand the things they speak on. Hold on. But still, that doesn't stop them from being like really smarmy. Here it is. People keep saying, well, actually, Biden does have the power to unilaterally impose sanctions and order airstrikes, etc. Here it is. This would not work. Biden can't instruct Netanyahu to do anything. He can't even stop sending weapons without defying Congress. Wrong. He can do both of those things. He certainly can't simply command Netanyahu to create a Palestinian state conditioned on the return of hostages. It's an independent nation. Every single thing that Will Stansel mentioned here is demonstrably false. Every single part of this is wrong. Literally every single part of it. And he knows it too, because people yelled at him. It's frustrating because the widespread belief that Biden could simply call the whole thing off makes it harder to seek things he could do. Support a ceasefire, make noise about war crimes, which, by the way, he's not doing. Not doing either of these things, by the way. Why is he not doing either of those things? I don't know. Express much more public sympathy for Gazans. People would clearly see those as dodges. Yeah, that's the reason why Biden is not doing those things, because people would see them as dodges. Now, obviously, everyone yelled at him, and he immediately turned around and said, people keep saying, well, actually, Biden does have the power to unilaterally impose sanctions and order airstrikes, etc. But the point is that Congress would freak out if he turned hard anti-Israel. It would be a political catastrophe, and he'd lose. We're not going to, attack Israel. Oh, so Biden does have the power. It's just not politically favorable. So why didn't you say that up here? Why didn't you just come out of the gates swinging with, well, actually, Biden could unilaterally, single-handedly impose sanctions, or even stop Israel, not give Israel the weapons, not give Israel the munitions, even though it is currently sidestepping Congress in its effort to send as many dumb bombs to Israel as possible. So why didn't you say that in the beginning? Is it because you were oblivious to the reality? I suspect yes. You did not know that that is the case. And then people yelled at you, and then maybe you recognized that that was the case. So then you had to move the fucking goalposts and be like, well, it would be politically not favorable. Okay, then. But you didn't say that in the beginning. It's a perfect distillation of the way liberals think and operate. Oh, actually, you silly idiot, you don't understand. The institutions do not allow him to do this. Oh, wait. He is actually overriding the institutional controls specifically to help Israel? Okay, well, if he didn't do that, then people would be mad at him, and therefore he would lose his power. All right, then what is the distinction between him and fucking Donald Trump then in this situation? Also, ironic considering that, like, Biden is already incredibly unfavorable anyway. Yeah. Legal problems, political problems, and market problems get painted with one brush by liberals who don't care enough to make the distinction because they want to stack it in their favor to get the chance. Yes. Proud member of Do Something Twitter. Yeah. Do something. What is that something? Continuation of genocide, it seems. The right is saying he's wasting tax money like Vivek, and the left recognizes genocide is wrong. No. The reality is that, obviously, unconditional alliance with Israel is overwhelmingly popular in the demographics that do vote. That's just the truth. But I don't care. I think being strong and reining Israel in this regard, in this situation, would be great. You would look like a fucking badass. Guys, Joe Biden ran on the position that he was going to restore America's position globally. But what Biden is doing now with this wishy-washy, soft-pedaling, send Israel all the guns and all the weapons in secrecy, while simultaneously publicly acting like you're actually trying to rein them back and dial it back, while their genocide continues and Benjamin Netanyahu publicly defies you on a daily fucking basis, all you're doing is taking the worst. You're taking the worst position. It's like how the Harvard president took the worst position. They were like, yeah, being pro-Palestine is actually, akin to Holocaust denial or being an advocate for genocide. But as a free speech maximalist, I think that's valid. That's the worst position you could take. You took on a faulty premise and then went along with the faulty premise that makes you look bad and defended it. For Joe Biden, he looks weak. If Joe Biden was a Republican and was saying, of course Israel's going to bomb these Muslim dogs, are you kidding me? Suck my dick. Then at least he would look good. It would align. His narrative would align with his actions. With Biden, his narrative doesn't align with his actions. So he just looks weak. So even from a pragmatic perspective, this doesn't make sense. Now, as a liberal, it's also more difficult for Brandon to come out and be racist like Donald Trump would in this circumstance. So he has to do this like wishy-washy, soft-pedaled baby shit. If Trump was doing what Biden was doing right now, AOC would be calling for a revolution, Lamau. I think so. I think a lot of political operatives and those who are fans of one party or the other would just absolutely behave in reactionary ways. I will say that. And the Houthis literally do this. I know this from family members that are forced to work for the government for no pay. However, this doesn't justify bombing Yemen, but it's also important to mention the facts. Also, I'm new to the stream and I really like it here, but you guys should do a bit nicer to new cheaters like me. You wrote to something about the Houthi slavery. Yeah, I mean, look, I've talked to a lot of people in Yemen that say that this is not what is going on and that slavery is relegated to mostly tribal areas. And beyond that, once again, it's completely unjustifiable regardless of who's doing it. And if the goal is to end slavery, which should be the goal of every single person, bombing said country is, of course, as you correctly pointed out, is not going to solve that. We do not bomb Louisiana to abolish slavery in prisons, right? Because of Angola's existence, the Louisiana State Penitentiary, we are not going to turn around and bomb Angola. That would be a ridiculous thing to claim. I mean, there are examples of what we've done in other countries that did not have slavery, but the practice was instituted after our bombing. Libya comes to mind. That's something to think about. And when I say Angola, I'm talking about the Louisiana State Penitentiary that is named after the plantation that was named after the area where the African slaves were shipped from, not the country. think it was named. I don't know if it was like racistly named that or not. I think that was the name since it was a plantation, right? But yeah, we're talking about Louisiana, the Louisiana State Penitentiary, where slaves still pick cotton, straight up.
If we look at the Middle East, I think it's about time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.